Okay, welcome to Goal Setting 101 for Teens. Earlier today, I was talking to John David and Rachel and Caitlin, and we were going through our family goals for 2015. And my wife had a great idea. She said, I need to record this. So I said, great. So in the studio audience, we have a live studio audience here. Everyone say hi.
Hi.
Now, they're all off camera because it is the holiday and we were kind of chilling out. We're still kind of in PJs, but I got dressed up and did this on webinar. So real quick, I want to go through the way that we do Goal Setting 101. My children are asking me questions. Yes, Caitlin.
Why are you talking about our PJs?
Well, you're still in your PJs.
Why are you talking about getting dressed up?
Would you like, do you want to go on camera and have everyone see what you're wearing?
I don't care.
You don't care? Okay, we'll have John David do that.
Oh my word.
Okay, so the way that we do goal setting is we do the what?
Ah, brother.
You know how hard it is to do this with your children? We do a process called the Wheel of Life. Now, this is a little bit different than the Circle of Life. No, we're not starting over. No, we're not going to start over. So the Circle of Life is all about the plants grow, the animals eat the plants, other animals eat the animals, and then they die and they become dirt, and then they create life. That's the Circle of Life. We're going to talk about the Wheel of Life. And this is something that I learned from my coach and mentor, Dan Miller, and we'll walk through how we have set goals for this year using this Wheel of Life. You know, a lot of times we think of our life and we try to just look at just one area of our life. But, Caitlin, do you have more than one area of your life?
Yeah.
Yes?
I mean, I want.
You're like, I don't know what that is. Hold on, here comes the dog. There's the dog. No, absolutely not. So there are multiple areas to our life. John David, what do you think one of the multiple areas of our life are? And I'll give you a hint. It's on the board. Career, isn't it? Now, do you have a career, John David? What is your career? Work doing computer programming, taekwondo. Now, most teens, you don't really have a career. If you're a teen, maybe you have a summer job. For most teens, your career is your school and education. But you can kind of substitute that for career. All right, what's another area of our life?
Social.
Social area. All right, what's something else?
Physical.
Physical.
Feel the burn.
Feel the burn. Very good. What else?
Family.
Family. Yes, even teens, you have to deal with your family. What else? Spiritual. And finally,
Personal development.
personal development. So
Financial.
and financial. Yeah, that's a good one. So
I mean, I find it.
that one's a big deal in the Schober family is the finances. So a couple things I want to talk about when thinking about goal settings. One, kind of look at your life and put it in a wheel and go through this wheel and just sort of think, you know, how are you doing on each of the steps? So you can kind of think, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, how am I doing in my career? Scale of 1 to 10, how am I doing financial, social? Go through each of these things. You know, you don't want to be, you know, doing great on your career or school and you're at a 9 or a 10 in your career, but then your family is really suffering. Or maybe more appropriate to teens, maybe your physical is really suffering, you know, your couch potato, okay? And so you're way down here like a 1 or a 2 with your physical, but you're doing great in school. If you try to roll that wheel, it's going to be out of balance. Now, Caitlin did a great job making this wheel for me, and I'm going to mess it all up, but I'll do the best that I can to keep it in sync. So anyway, go through the different areas of your life, and here's a hint. If you try to set goals for all areas here, that really is going to be overwhelming. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You know, if you set one goal in each of those areas, that's 7 different goals. When thinking about planning for the year, really, you know, 5 to 7 is really kind of the limit. So even kind of just doing one out of each kind of pushes that limit. So what I would recommend is kind of take a look at what you really want to focus on. Now, sometimes for teens, maybe a year might be planning a little bit more than you can do. So maybe you might want to look at it at a semester, or in the business world, you might take it at a quarter at a time, so 3 months at a time. But a lot of people look at, we're sitting here at the end of December and we're looking at the next year, so you can kind of plan out an appropriate timeline that makes a lot of sense for you. So when I did goals, so here is John Schober's family goals. Does anyone know what areas I picked up? What are the areas that I'm focusing on? Yes, Caitlin. You can't see her, but she's raising her hand. I did. Spiritual was one of the goals. By the way, that one, and I feel kind of bad. I'm a good Christian. I'm a preacher's kid, so you would think that spiritual would be like, oh, you always want to have spiritual goals. This one actually almost didn't make the cut of 2015. And when I go through and actually walk through the goals, I'll explain why that is. But that is one of the goals, but it actually didn't make it, and I'll explain that in a little bit. What's another one of the family goals, or at least John's goals? Family. Family was another one. Yes, Caitlin. What?
Physical and financial.
Physical and financial.
And I guess that's career. But what's your goal with career?
Oh,
Yeah, financial.
okay. Did I set any social goals? Jennifer, did I set any social goals? Did I?
Technically, yes. I think.
Tell me.
Because social, that means you're interacting with people and you're going to interact with your kids to get a cup of coffee. But does that go with family?
That's a good question. So I did not set any social goals. And when we go through some of them, you'll see that some of the goals that I did set have a lot of overlap into the other areas. But I only set goals in spiritual, financial, family, and physical. So my personal development, my career, and my social, I don't have any set goals for that this year. Rachel, did you have a question?
It's irrelevant now.
Well, go ahead and ask it anyway.
You didn't put a specific goal, but in like social, but it inadvertently is.
Yes, very good. So the 4 goals that I set for this year, does anyone know how long I've been working on this?
5 minutes.
On setting goals? When did I start working on my goal setting? No. About 6 weeks ago.
That's not a long time.
Yeah. So the first part of November is when I started kind of thinking about what I wanted to do for 2015. So it's been about 6 weeks, maybe a little bit longer than that. But it takes a little while to do this. Now for teens, it might not take teens 6 weeks to do it. You might be able to do it in a week or two. But the point is, take some time. Spend some time to actually work through what you want these goals to be. Now, I'm going to kind of share what the goals are for the family. Most of you know that we homeschool, so we have a little bit of a unique family. Our life is very integrated with everybody. We all are in the same house all of the time together. I work from home. So in a lot of ways, sort of our entire family works together, lives together, spends a lot of time together. So I'm just going to go through what the Schober family goals are, at least my goals for the Schober family. So the first one, I'm going to change to, what color ink should I use?
Red.
Should I use red? Okay. I'll use red because we're going to talk about, okay, so we're going to go through some of the goals that I set for this year. So one of the goals I set was physical. So I have 2 physical goals for this year. One, I want to lose 20 pounds, and you'll have to figure out what that means because I'm not going to say what my weight is, but I'll just say that right now I weigh 188 pounds, and I don't like weighing 188 pounds. And actually, technically, it's 23 pounds. So you can do the math on where I want to go. But one of the things was the area of my physical life. And I used a very specific pattern when I set these goals. The first thing that I did as I wrote out these goals is I said, why? Why am I setting the goal of 165 pounds? a lot of people, they set physicals because they don't feel good or they have health reasons. I feel great. I'm not suffering from any health reasons, but I don't really like the way that I look. I don't really think I'm setting a real good example to my kids. And so those were really the whys to why I wanted to why I wanted to lose some weight this week, is to be a good example to my kids, look a little bit better. That's kind of the why. The next thing I set was, how am I going to do it? You'll see on 3 out of the 4 goals, the how's pretty easy, okay? I'm going to watch what I eat. I'm going to watch my caloric intake, my nutritional intake, and I'm going to exercise daily. It's pretty simple. If calories in versus calories out, if you get that in balance, you'll lose weight. It's not rocket science. Anyone can do it. It's work to actually do it, but I think everyone knows how to lose weight. Eat healthy, eat balanced, exercise, you'll lose weight. It's not that hard. The next was, what's the benefit? And I wrote all these down. I wrote down on a piece of paper. In fact, I'll end up hanging it here on the wall in a couple of days. But the benefit is, when I have been below about 173, I feel better. Like the way I look, all that kind of stuff. So those are sort of the benefits that I wrote down. Here's the deal. Goals, if you don't really kind of tie into your emotions with your goals, and again, this is for teens as well. If you're just setting goals because your parents said, hey, you need to read your Bible, or you need to eat well, or you need to do whatever, and you're not tying in and connecting into some sort of emotional and personal why and what's the benefit, then you're not really going to have a good tendency to be able to complete the goal. So make sure you say, what's the benefit? At the end of the day, what's the benefit that you expect to get out of this if you reach the goal? And the fourth thing was, what's the next step? Sometimes we get lost in kind of analysis paralysis. We set these goals and we want to plan, the whole year. And we want to plan out our 365 days activities, and it just gets overwhelming to do that. So start out with what your next step is. So for me, my next step was get my iPhone to monitor my diet, and to set the time that I'll be on the treadmill, to set some time. I'll be spending some time at Taekwondo, so marking that time on the calendar. That was really my next step going into the year, was kind of putting that together. And then on a weekly basis, I'll be monitoring my progress on this goal. So that's how I set together the physical goal. The second goal that I set was family. Now this is really kind of hard, because how do you measure improvement with your family? Hey, I want to be closer to my family. Okay, well, that sounds good, but how do you know that you're being closer? I mean, well, I want to, I want to be at peace in the family. Well, what if you have teenagers, and teenagers are having different chemicals going on in their body, and it's hard to be completely at peace with all the teenagers, or toddlers, or spouses, or infants that are in your house. So how do you do that? A little bit more for me. One of the things that I learned last year in 2014 is I made a commitment to take people out to coffee. I made a commitment to meet 100 people and take them out to coffee, spend time with them. That was a great thing in 2014. And I thought, wow, if I can, if I'm willing to dedicate that kind of time to strangers, to people that at the end of the day, they're not going to be with me forever, then certainly I can do the same thing for my family. So the way that I set my family goal is I want to be closer. I want to be more in unity. Okay, how do I kind of do something that I think will correlate to that? Really, it came down to 2 things. My wife, I'm committed to 52 date nights with my wife. Now, we are having a little bit of a conflict about what is a date night. We did go grocery shopping yesterday, at HEB, and I think that counts as a date night. So you can leave your comments on whether or not grocery shopping counts as date night. Remember, we have 7 children. So I'm pretty much thinking like if it's with just my wife, it's a date. That's sort of the way that I define things. But Jen, what do you think? What's the definition of date night?
I'm choosing not grocery shopping.
Jennifer is saying not grocery shopping. But leave a comment. Tell us what you tell us how we should define date night. Give us some options. Again, remember we have 7 children, so the logistics of babysitting is something that we have to work with. Let us know how many kids you have and how do you do date night. The other, by the way, what's the magic of 52?
52 weeks.
So this is like, remember this is goal setting for teens. So teens, if you haven't kind of figured out the magic of 52, there are 52 weeks in a year. Okay, so that makes sense, right? Okay, so 52 date nights with my wife and 52 coffee with dad. Now, that's not with each kid 52 times. That means during the course of the year, I will rotate through my children and dedicate 52 different. Do I like coffee? If anyone wants to send me a Starbucks card, I happily accept Starbucks cards. So if you like this video and this video has been a benefit to you and you've learned something from it, you can send me a Starbucks card. My wife is like, stop it. You're embarrassing me. But that's okay. Then she says, just do my thing. So I don't know what she wants to do. And then I've got Caitlin. I really wish y'all were watching this because it's a lot of fun. Okay, so family, I'm going to do 52 date nights and 52 coffees with each of my kids. Not individually, but all together, 52 coffees. Since my kids are here, I want to make sure that's clear. All right, third goal. I hope this is helping you. I hope that you're getting something from this. And really what I hope is that you're getting the importance of setting goals, the importance of talking them out with your teenagers. We're in a pretty strong homeschooling community. We know that a lot of homeschoolers kind of, they live life together. And so I hope that you're watching this and you're going to do something with your family and set some family goals this year. All right. Now I have to confess, spiritual goal was the hardest goal to set. In fact, like I said earlier, I didn't even set a spiritual goal. And I know that sounds horrible. I'm a preacher's kid. I'm a good Christian. I should have spiritual goals. But it was really it was real difficult because how do you say I want to be more like Jesus? Okay? When your goal is infinite and you're way down here, how do you measure progress against that goal? I don't know. So, my goals in the past have been so nebulous in this regard as to be somewhat meaningless. Or it's something like, okay, well, I'm going to read the Bible. Okay, well, that's very task-oriented, check the mark. I'm not a big task person. I'm not a big person that has, 15 tasks and I go through and I check it off. That's just not the way that I'm wired. I know at our church is kind of promoting 5:15, so 5 days a week, 15 minutes in Bible study and devotion, and I think that's a great, it's a great thing and a great idea. But for me, it's just there's never been any juice to any of that. At the end of the day, after about the third day, it's another thing to do, and so I've really always kind of struggled with how to make a spiritual goal and how to make one that's going to last and stay motivated, because some of these other things have been real difficult. Now I'll give you a bonus on this. This is a freebie bonus. The way that does anyone know how I read the Bible the first time I read the Bible through? What order did I use?
Smallest book to biggest book.
That's right. The first time I read the Bible, I literally went through the table of contents to see what the shortest book is, which is, by the way, I think it's 2 Peter. And well, actually 2 Peter has fewer words. Okay? And you can go online. In fact, I'm going to send a link to my little spreadsheet that actually has the Bible and the number of words in each book. So here's how I did it. Okay? It's if you're in Dave Ramsey, this is the Dave Ramsey, snowball Bible reading plan, okay, that John Schober made up. This is freebie. This is a bonus. This really doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about, but I think it's kind of funny and kind of cool. So I started out with like the smallest book of the Bible, Jude, 2 Peter, whatever it was. And, you can read 2 Peter like in one sitting, okay? You can just, you can take a break and read an entire book of the Bible. So you're like, yes, I read the Bible. And I went through my table of contents and like marked it out. So I was like, this is actually one of the few times that I actually was motivated by having my little check mark. So I went through the first, the smallest to the largest. So actually, like, you can go through like 40 books of the Bible and they have like less than 15 chapters in them. So that's 2/3 of the Bible have less than 15 chapters in them. So you can one sitting, bam, knock it out and be done with it. Now, those other 26 books, those do take a little bit longer. But then you're like, okay, man, I've got this thing down. I can look at my table of contents, and a lot of them are crossed out. And so that's how I did it. If you want to do that, I'll send the worksheet. I'll make a link to it here on the website. And if you want to read from smallest to largest, that's the way I read the Bible the first time through. Now, that's not my goal for this year, but it is... although I might, I know we're thinking about doing some more stuff with some teenagers and some youth ministries. Maybe that's what I'll do. If we do something with youth ministry in 2015, maybe I'll lead the youth in that. So we'll see. Stay tuned. Okay, for me, I wanted to set a spiritual goal. It needed to kind of be holistic and fit into the rest of my life. I didn't want to just have like, here's this thing over here. Here's my church thing. Here's my spiritual thing. So how could I integrate? That's a big thing that I've kind of learned in the last couple of years is trying to integrate our life, integrating our school, integrating work, integrating our spiritual life, integrating all of these things. So I wanted to do something. One of the challenges that we have 7 kids. We kind of have them divided by the olders and the youngers. And as Jennifer and I were talking, we really did sort of go, wow, we really lived a different life when the olders were growing up. That was 10 years ago. My oldest is 17. Kristen is sort of on the bubble. Kristen, depending on what benefits her most, she's an older or a younger, depending on how it benefits her, and she's 10. So there you go. My olders are from 10 to 17, and my youngers are from 4 to 10. Again, Kristen gets to be whatever benefits her, is what she gets to be. So was thinking, wow, when the olders were growing up, we were just in a different place in life. We were very involved in a discipleship class at our church, a new believers class. So we're teaching people, teaching evangelism, teaching how to witness, fundamental truths of the Bible. I mean, this was very much a big piece of our life, and because we homeschooled and because our lives were fairly integrated, our elders really got involved, and they got a real strong foundation. Our elders were also involved in JBQ, Junior Bible Quiz, which is a great program, and we were coaches at it. Well, as we had more kids, our life changed. Our church had a change in direction on the discipleship class, so that kind of moved to some other things. Some of our younger kids, they just don't have the attention span, and so JBQ just isn't a real good fit for them. They're a little bit too active, a little bit too physically engaged, and so those things haven't been a good fit. And as I was thinking about my goals for this year, and actually the first draft, I didn't have any spiritual goals for the year, and Jennifer and I talked about it, and we said, wow, we've got our older kids, they've really built this foundation. Our younger kids really haven't. Remember, I'm talking about this is the why. So why am I doing that? What's going to give me the juice to maintain this spiritual goal? And I really want to transmit these principles to my younger kids. So the spiritual goal I set was to go through and review the Gospels. So over the course of the year, either on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, kind of my next step is to actually schedule that out. We'll start going through, I'll start leading discussions, primarily focused to the youngers, but my teens, you're going to be involved, right, John David? Rachel, you're going to help lead? Caitlin, you're going to help lead? Okay. So we're going to go through and lead these conversations with the gospel. So Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And so that's the goal for my spiritual aspect. Do I think that if I read the Gospels, will I probably grow spiritually? Will I probably be transformed and more like Christ? Well, there's a good chance of that happening. So you see how that works. There's like this benefit to it. So we're gonna discuss. We're going to go through the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and we're going to discuss the Gospels with the family, primarily focused on the youngers. If you've noticed, for these three goals, like I said, they've all pretty much kind of check the mark type stuff. I'm gonna eat right and exercise. I'm gonna spend time. I'm gonna schedule the time with my wife and with my kids. I've got a plan for spiritual. Read the Gospels with them. The fourth aspect was our financial goals for the year. Now I'm not going to tell you what the number is. That's still a little bit of a private conversation, but we set a number. I set a number that's fairly aggressive. It's the largest number that I've ever earned in my life, and it's certainly a lot more than 2014. But anyway, I set a number, and there's a couple of things with this one, and this is really what I kind of leave you with. I don't know how I'm going to meet that number. I don't have, here's the 5 things that I'm going to do, and if I do these 5 things, I'll lose the weight. I wish I could say, well, if I do these 5 things, I'll hit my financial goals. I have, I've got some I'm not completely blind. I've got some processes that I'm using. But the point is, some of your goals, they really are going to reach, and they're going to stretch you a little bit. And you're not exactly going to know how you're going to get to the end. And that's actually a good sign. And, for me, with the financial goal, I really kind of just have the next step. The next 30-day step is what I have for my financial goals. And I'll have to go through January, and I'll have to see where I am in January, and then I'll have to go through February and see where I am in February and start moving in that direction. Sometimes you got to set goals like that. Sometimes those goals, are going to be kind of out there. And, if you can easily grab your goal, then it's probably not a worthy and a worthwhile goal. So, what was the, Jennifer? Oh, yeah. Why do I have the financial goal? The number we had, my story in 2011 was laid off from Dell. Worked with a buddy of mine, started a e-learning company in 2011, sold it in August of this year, and transitioned to coaching. So, for us, the last 3 or 4 years, it was a lot more finances when we were at Dell. And that gave us the opportunity to be a lot more generous, do more things with our money, and we just haven't been able to do that in the past couple of years. So that's a big reason and a big motivating factor of why I set the goal. So the goal was kind of put out there that gets beyond where I was at Dell. And again, I'm not going to give you the number. I'm not going to give you the magic number, but it's a big goal. I mean, it's a pretty stretch goal out there. So the why is so that I can pay all of our bills, really do all the things that God wants us to do with our money, give the kind of money. Some people like, what do you mean give? We tithe. We want to be generous givers. We have an amount that we set. And so we want to meet those goals, and we want to do it with our finances. We want to be able to leave an inheritance to our kids, all that kind of stuff. Those are all the whys. The how, I kind of have just the next step on the how. I don't have all the steps on the how, but I'm comfortable with that. And you need to be comfortable too. Some of your goals are going to stretch you. Okay, any questions about goal setting? This is Goal Setting 101 for teens. Did anyone learn anything? Come on, somebody say something.
I don't think it's geared toward teens. I think it's geared toward
Okay, Jennifer is saying that this really wasn't geared to teens. It was geared to adults.
we have our teens listen to our adult conversations.
That's really it.
He needs to repeat it.
Yeah, what Jennifer just said is our teens listen in to all of our conversations. And John David, you're going to have, in 20 years, you're going to have to tell me if I did the right thing. But Jennifer and I have made a decision. This is just sort of a philosophical decision. We live a very transparent and open life. In fact, one of the conversations was, were we going to kind of give to the internet what our financial goal is? Because we do want to be very transparent and very open about stuff. And in most aspects, we are very open. But right now, we're still very much in the sauce of our finances. So we're going to keep that piece private. But our kids know we've made the choice to be very open, very transparent. So we've made a very conscious decision to be very transparent. We're transparent with everyone. We're very transparent with our kids. Again, John David, in 20 years, you can tell your therapist about all the things that we told you. So even though we called this Goal Setting 101 for teens, it's really probably for parents. But we hope that you'll spend the time with your family, that you'll set your goals for your family, that you'll involve your kids. We think this is something, I personally think this is something that's extremely important for your, Jennifer's going, this is something that's very important for your kids. In all honesty, I mean, this was kind of fun putting this video together. This really is the conversation that we were having, and just decided, you know what, we're going to put a camera in front of it and record it. So hope you meet all your goals in 2015 and have a great year.